everybody, I'm Marina. I'm the creator of Unbossed. And I've created this space because I wanted to share my thoughts with you. I wanted a space to create webinars and podcasts and series. I also wanted to market my speaking engagements and my leadership coaching skills. My first task is going to be to interview a bunch of females in tech around Chicago, and I'll bring those stories to you. More specifically, I've been targeting the only 40 females that I found in Chicago that are Chief Technology Officers or CTOs out of over 700 plus male CTOs in Chicago. And I haven't even gotten into the POC's number yet. So please follow me, watch them, follow them, encourage other females to stay in tech and be in tech. I hope you enjoy. Thanks.
So hey everybody, this is Marina, your host, Director of Data Engineering at Jellyvision. I'm here with Erin Karam, correct Erin?
Yep, Karam.
Karam, who is currently the CTO at Dina, the digital nursing assistant. We're gonna have our female CTO interview, and I'm gonna start with Erin. Do you want to tell me a story about Erin at the beginning of, teenage years, early years in computer and tech, thinking about how you got your first interest in technology?
Ooh, okay, sure. Let's see. We had an Intel 400, I think. At home. And it was running, Windows 3.1, and I'm pretty sure that I played enough Minesweeper more Minesweeper than anyone should have been playing. But I think I got interested early, but I was always kind of interested in a lot of things. So I played sports, music, and computers. But I remember one time when I got a magazine in the mail, and it was like, code this pumpkin, and it had instructions on how in Windows you could go in and write UW Basic to create this jack-o'-lantern picture for Halloween, and I did. I spent the whole time keying in all of this code, and in the end it worked. Wow, beautiful. Wow. That was probably my first interaction with code, but really that was something that that I didn't take seriously until I got to college. We didn't have computer science in high school back then, and to be honest, it was so this was back in 90, 97, 98, trying to pick a major, and I remember going to one of my buddies, one of the smartest buddies I knew, who was already coding on the side, and he was a Unix administrator in the summers. And I was like, I don't know, do you think that I could do computer science as a major? And he was like, what are you talking about? You could definitely do computer science.
What?
And that was the moment. That was the moment where I was like, oh, maybe I could. Okay. And as I was trying to select a major between, I was super into sports, so PT or music or computer science. That's when I kind of finally buckled down and was like, I'm gonna give this a serious try.
Nice. And when you found that magazine in your mail, just to go back, how old were you think, if you remember?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I couldn't have been more than 14.
Okay.
I guess. I have to go look.
That's pretty early.
My dad remembers.
No, that's pretty early. Most female I talk to have had some type of influence early on around technology. It's not just something that was bred into the family. It's not we're a family of engineers and therefore you go and do computer science. What did your parents think maybe at the time about your decision to do computer science?
Always very supportive of whatever I wanted to do. I think that they were happy that I was that I was happy and that I was chasing something I wanted to do. I think the only disappointment was that I ended up going to a big state school, because I saw that as like my path, right? Like, I actually started at a very small liberal arts college and I left because I was like, I can't do computer science here. I think I want to go like really do it. And so I left and I went to Indiana Bloomington. But that was like the moment I also stopped playing softball. I was playing softball at this other college, and so that was, I think, the bummer for them, was like, oh, she's giving up her sports for this. But it all worked out. So
you could have been a professional softball player right now.
I don't think so. No, I wasn't that talented, but I did enjoy it a lot. It was fun.
Nice. And then, so you graduated around 2001. And then what happened? Tell me a little bit about your early days as maybe an individual contributor, right? Because that's I'm assuming you started that way.
Yes, I did. Yeah, well, first of all, I took this job with IBM and I was super excited about it because I was going to go work in their innovation center on Wacker Drive, and so I envisioned myself like working downtown every day and like just like playing and experimenting with different code, and that's really how it was kind of pitched to me. But I ended up being pretty lucky. Of my friends, a lot of my friends had their offers rescinded because it was right after the .com bubble burst, and so they kept me on staff, but they were like, "Hey, you're gonna go travel. You're gonna be a traveling consultant now. Like, forget about no one's innovating. We're just gonna try and pay the bills, right?" So so I spent a very long time on the road as a consultant. So I had to learn what that was and how to kind of how to do that job well. And it was great. It was great for me in a number of ways because I got to see a lot of large companies and how they work. I got to understand how enterprise software was built, really hardened, scalable enterprise software. And of course, IBM has a deep library of resources and network and people that you can tap into and learn from. And so that was really great. I had a number of kind of key projects when I was younger that helped me kind of tack together those skills to slowly work towards that like architect path.
What was, do you think, the success factor there for you? Like, how did you continue to grow into an architect at IBM?
I think that there was kind of a few different key roles and key people who helped me along the way. My average project was probably 9 months, but I had some that were a few years, and really it was getting that different experience and different exposure to to those kind of enterprise applications, and then having that mentorship along the way of being able to like look at a customer code base and be like, okay, here's things that they're doing really well, and here's things where they're not doing well. And then also, part of what we were delivering was expertise that they didn't necessarily have in-house. It wasn't just like, here's an extra set of hands. It was, here's someone that can help you think about how to reach those 3 nines that you're looking for. Here's someone who can help you think about how to maintain this in production and create alerting and monitoring around it. Or here's someone who can help you actually consider how the user experience should work, and work through workflows and processes and come up with a pathway for your user base, measure engagement and things like that, analytics.
So at this point, I've heard like a lot of people talk about mentorship and like how we've all had mentors that have helped us along the path. Do you remember like anyone specifically or any type of advice that was specific to you and to your success?
I think that there was a lot of moments where I received great coaching, whether it was technical coaching or client coaching, right? How to handle a difficult client situation. You know, I think that looking back, I had a mentor who was a woman. She was a project manager at a very large strategic account. And she wasn't technical. I mean, she could have been if she wanted to, because she was brilliant. But she was like one of those people that they would just kind of stick on, large high risk project to large high risk project to and she was really I would say a really important person in my development. Together, her and the enterprise architects, I leaned on them incredibly. I grew so much technically, and I grew so much in terms of my business and leadership skills in that project, with some really hands-on mentoring.
Nice. Do you remember anything else about this period of time in which I think like your next role, you go into managing people, and we can talk about like how was that experience in terms of transitioning into a manager role. But can you think of anything else as an individual contributor that was special to you around feedback, or a big mistake that you made that like that taught a lesson?
Yeah. I think that I remember there being a moment where we were working at kind of a very large team. So I think I had about probably it was like 60 different people across a few teams that we were managing, and of those, like most of them technical, and I was kind of the lead architect on this role. And it was a tough project because it was a hey, you're coming in here to help this team, and not only were we building this product and delivering it for them, but then we were also teaching them how to take it over from us and to maintain it long term and to do all these things. And I just remember her, she constantly made sure that I was, quote, leading from behind. So making sure that the team was set up for success, and the team was the one doing the actions, and the team was the one that was really taking the reins, and that I was like right behind them every step of the way, and maybe giving them their next step, but not dragging them and not pulling them.
So how did you do that? Like in practice, like how does that? How can you? I can think is like almost as in like you want them to take ownership.
Yeah.
As much ownership of it as you have ownership on it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you?
And they don't want to feel like ideas are forced down their throat either. So there was just a lot of like small group collaboration where it's you introduce a concept but slowly, and you kind of let them run with it, right? Give them the like maybe feed a concept, give them the guardrails, let them run with it. Pretty soon they feel like it's theirs.
Nice.
And so you have to take things slowly, and you have to be willing to put in the time to have those interactions. But if you do all of those things, you'll be set up, and you'll have an environment of people that are really bought in and that are excited about something versus felt like they've been force-fed something that maybe they don't want to.
No, that's great. And it's almost like a controlled failure, I think, the way you're describing it. Would just say,
yeah, maybe so.
Would you say that's kind of like where you, even though you may know that there's a better way to do it, you can let them try their way first. And
right.
Then, without wasting too much time, obviously, and resources, but in order for them to get that experience before you feed them the solution.
Exactly. So you let them go down, you let them have some rope, go down a path. If you really feel like you need to intervene, you can kind of ask some gentle questions to get their minds in the right place, to be able to redirect a little bit. But it was very effective, and I learned a lot from working underneath her.
Nice. So then I'm gonna just group out a little bit of your roles. Like here, you are VP of Engineering at Clean Urban Energy, and then Director of Solutions Delivery at Solstice. I think both of those were Chicago-based location, right? You've been in Chicago for a long time, yeah. So what was that changing from from being an IT architect and being like a technical leader into actually managing people and figuring that out?
Yeah, that was it was a good challenge, right? So good growth points. The biggest change I think for me in that space was not necessarily like technical mentoring or helping with career growth as much as it was like the tactical hiring, recruiting, like setting a comp package, all of those pieces, which I hadn't really done before. Because I feel like for like being a manager and figuring out how to lead people, those I felt really comfortable with. But it's a completely different conversation when you have to deliver those quarterly or biannual reviews and adjust comp and justify those, justify your decisions in those conversations. And so yeah, that was a pretty good change for me.
Yeah, and it comes with a little bit of getting your hands off of the keyboard. And I was wondering, like, we were talking and I watching your interview, and you talk a lot about being hands-on still. And I keep wondering, like, oh my God, how does she have the time to even continue to be hands-on, which is, I think, is like a matter of priorities as well, right? Like, how do you make it a priority to continue to do that? Do you have any thoughts about like balancing that act?
Yeah, I've bounced around a little bit, right? So I made the leap into product at Clean Urban, which was awesome, right? And then I caught the product bug and I never wanted to go back. So there I was, yes, I was managing and leading, but I was also at we were still small. We had taken, I think, 9 million from battery, and we were like working on scaling up the tech team there. But I still, I kind of functioned as lead architect, head of product, and then I was hands-on keyboard a decent amount there. Then I went into, I'm kind of back to my roots. I did large enterprise consulting for mobile and emerging tech, so bringing emerging tech to the enterprise. So it was kind of a mix of my skills, and that was like pure management, pure architecture management, but mostly management. We had hired an insane amount of like 20-year-olds out of college to teach them how to create mobile apps, because no one else did anyway. So why not just hire a 20-year-old, right? But that was it ended up being so much work to constantly be there to help mentor and grow these very young engineers at the beginning of their career. And so I spent some time doing that. And then of course I ended up coming back into product and getting my hands dirty again. And so it kind of went from like a almost hands-off keyboard to back in it, to back out, to back in, which actually has been, it's worked out fairly well, because I feel like I've been able to stay fresh, which is the biggest thing. Am I able to, and I think this is the problem with the problem for any technical leader. You need to be able to stay fresh with skills in the market, understand the current, state of ecosystem and infrastructure, and what the realm of possibilities in the cloud are, and what current the thinking is in the marketplace. And so here I'd say I am working my way back out. I don't actually do all that much hands on the keyboard anymore, although although at the beginning of this call, I know we talked about there was a few moments earlier this year when I got back in the thick of it, and I think my engineers are glad that I'm back out. But yeah, it's great. I think it's great to make sure that every once in a while you are really connecting with that aspect. Yeah.
Do you yeah, and you mentioned like, also I wanted to take it back, is like you mentioned like the 3 nines at IBM, which is now 11 nines for AWS, right? So it's like
Sure.
changed dramatically landscape. Two questions about that. I think like I don't want to pile them up, but I'm going to anyways. It's like the first one is like,
Okay.
do you have any preferred source of like, or recourse on how to keep up with trends? Like, is it podcast, books, Medium? What is it? And then the second one was like, do you ever feel, well, let me say that I feel sometimes like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to embarrass myself here. Here we go. I'm going back in, right? Like I haven't done it in a while. I'm super rusty, but I'll do it anyways because my team needs me right now. Do you ever feel that way? And how do you combat that, I guess?
Sure. Okay. So I guess for staying fresh, for me, it's 2 different ways, I think. I follow a lot of like technical thought leaders on Twitter. And so I end up no, I should.
Oh,
I don't know that I do.
Follow her, Megan Smith?
No.
Okay.
I'm gonna get her on my list.
Okay.
So I read, I do a lot of reading and discovery through there. So like if I'm following, given whether it's thought leaders or like platforms announcing new news and new products coming out. So I try and stay current there and make sure that I'm reading, as well as then, I think that the second best is you got a team full of engineers. You got to leverage them, right? So really pushing your own team to be out there and kind of constantly exploring what's happening in the market and bringing that back. And creating a little base, we have an internal thread where we post latest market trends or tech news internally and share that up amongst each other. And then we also, in terms of we'll kind of have like a little engineering weekly session where we'll talk about something that we did outside of work that where we were able to learn something new. It doesn't always have to be tech focused, but obviously naturally a lot of times it is. So I think all of those things are really helpful. As well as just the CTO network here in Chicago, which is I think really strong. So I'm on like that CTO Slack, and there's some great sharing there. Anytime you need any type of resource. Oh, I'm interested in how I split out my DevOps team or whatever. Oh, check out this book, this article. So that's great. And then about the coding, yeah. So jumping back in, it's like riding a bike, I think, right? So I mean, it's fun. I probably enjoy it too much. So yeah, but in terms of being afraid or concerned that I'm rusty or my skills aren't sharp, I think that ultimately the best thing you can do for your engineers is to show them that you'll work alongside them when times get tough, that you're there together as a team, and to help them deliver. And so I think that goes a long way, even if you're there for moral support or just to talk through logically, make sure that we're on the same page and not actually like typing in the classes and methods and or just there to test. I think the most important thing is showing up. So I would say to any other peers, don't let fear get the best of you. I'd say jump in and at least lend a hand in whatever way you feel comfortable.
Nice. Well said. I like that. And I think we definitely can get into this, but I'm gonna see here. I think you said a couple of things that were interesting to me. It was like, one was like, new product. And so you recently talked about how in this time during COVID, at Dina, you guys were able to launch this new product. And feel free to, say as much as you need about that. But more interesting was like, how do you make space and time and strategically and tactically tackle this challenge of saying, I have an idea, how I'm gonna get it to market?
So this one was like kind of, I feel like a perfect storm of things coming together at once. The best thing about launching a product in a market, or the most important thing about launching a product in a market is actually having a customer and some kind of fit. And so ultimately, what happened with this product was we had one of our oldest, most long-term customers come to us and talk about a need that they had. And it was a rough time for them. It was a rough time for their employees. And so this particular thing felt like a no-brainer. We have something we can do. We looked around in the space, did some investigation, and really came up with, I think that we could assemble something pretty quickly for you that could get the job done. And so, ordinarily would we be probably front loading with a bit more R&D, product market research, and things like that? Yes. Not to say we didn't totally do those things. It was just that it was a very easy yes, right? You have a customer who really needs you in a really crazy and unprecedented times, and it was an easy one for us to kind of jump on, and it's really paid back returns kind of several times over since then. But yeah, I think that coming up with one of the more difficult aspects of it was we wanted to launch this, but if we were really going to launch a product, we wanted to launch something that was kind of was extensible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And would be able to support additional and future use cases beyond just for this COVID screening. And so we kind of buckled down and spent, I want to say, the better part of a week investigating all of the different types of chatbot frameworks, natural language processing, tool sets, and kind of hobbled together an approach towards this new product. And I think assembling the technical strategy around this product actually felt like a larger set of work than it was from a business standpoint, being able to pull the trigger on the value and the market for it.
And so I wanted to get into this a little bit because you were hands-on on this project, which I think was probably, like you mentioned, like an anomaly for you at this role. What is the role of a CTO in this project, for instance, and in generally how you see it? Like, what do you think are your responsibilities as the CTO?
Sure. So I own product and engineering. So I think that my role it expands a little bit beyond CTO. Those two hats in general are full-time jobs.
Yeah,
but luckily,
CTO.
Right. But we're small still, and we're lucky enough to have a great crew, both the product team and the engineering team. But yeah, if looking at CTO, making sure that we are, from an architecture, infrastructure, production engineering, we're creating a top-notch product, and that we're checking meeting and exceeding security, performance, that we're able to really deliver a world-class, consumer grade user experience, which is which is really, really important. And so being able to, create a culture and build an engineering team that is excited to come to work every day, create an environment for them to be able to, have the right kind of mentoring, and have a personal growth and trajectory plan within Dina, and then after Dina.
Yeah.
I think that those are the most important things. The team, and then making sure that we're meeting and exceeding for the business.
Nice. And how was that transition? Like, did you jump into Dina being the CTO, or how did that work at the beginning?
Yeah, I did actually. But in the beginning, the first, I don't know, at least year, maybe longer, it was like hardcore heads down product build. So I was like exclusively hands-on keyboard. Well, I was, hand-on keyboard. I was customer interactions, so I was kind of executing between myself and my CEO and my COO. We were kind of checking all the boxes together. Nice. as a cohesive team. And so it started like that. And that was a major change, right? So I went from that, where I was mostly shaking hands with CEOs and signing deals and making sure that projects are going on okay, to now we're back full time in front of the keyboard and creating. But it's fun, that being able to exercise and get those creative juices flowing. And my CEO, is quite skilled. He delivered quite a few PRs to GitHub in that time frame as well. So right. we like to always point that out when.
It's always nice to have the CEO commit code.
Absolutely. So the great thing for me, though, it was obviously it was a new role for me. I had played kind of a similar role at Clean Urban, but looking at this team of founders that I somehow fell in with, and was lucky enough to start working with, it was a complete no-brainer. I had my CEO was an ex-CTO of a $500 million company that went to Aetna. His co-founder, was the original co-founder of that company, and they had worked together for a long time, and he was also a CTO at one point in his career, and had actually created the first touchscreen EMR.
Wow.
So knowing that I was coming into this with two amazing leaders to learn from was, how could I say no?
Yes, I totally get it. Like, the question that comes to mind about this is, what's your favorite part? Like, what is your favorite thing about what you've done so far, or your current role? Like, however you want to put it, depending on, the view that you have right now in this moment. What is your favorite part of all of this?
Gosh, that's so hard. Well, I think one, it's working with really, really great people. It makes it all so worth it and so much fun. But in terms of the like day-to-day work, I feel like I'm really kind of at the top of my game when I'm helping, from a strategic standpoint, bridge that like technical and product gap. So what are we looking to do, and then how can we, like, from our toolbox of what's happening underneath the covers in the system, how would we be able to quickly mobilize something and get something together that would meet this need or meet this market need, or get us an advantage in this space? And I think it's that, like, that space where kind of get to exercise both the depth of the technical experience I've had throughout my career, and then apply it from a strategic standpoint to, like, our next space and our next step. That's where I have a lot of fun.
Nice. That's great. All right, we're almost out of time here. Unfortunately, we could continue talking about this forever, I feel like. But I know we have a lot of things in common. You must come back. We can talk about AI and machine learning next and figure it out, figure out how that fits into the ecosystem here. But here's some of the last questions that I have for you. What is the book you have gifted the most or gifted the most recently that you can remember?
Gifted to my team, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah. Or just general book?
General book.
Okay. Let's see. So I'm the worst with I have no. Nope. I'll butcher the name of it if I don't look at it.
I'll always correct it. I can always put something in there.
Oh yeah. Okay. Goodness. Oh yes. I was gonna say Song of It's Circe.
Circe?
Yeah, I really like that one.
What is that? What is that, the name of the book or the author?
That is the name of the book. Madeline Miller.
Okay.
She wrote the Song of Achilles. So it's I like in general I really like historical fiction. I read a lot of historical fiction.
Okay.
But this was kind of different. It was a tale of a goddess like told through, her perspective around her life, and it was written by a professor at who studies mythology or teaches mythology, and it's just like incredibly well written and just so different from what I had been reading or what I had read in the past that it really struck me. I really enjoyed it.
Nice. And then what is a book you would write, whether it's for professional purposes or for pleasure?
Oh my. Well, for professional purposes, I think that it would probably be around kind of be that moment when you're making a transition from individual contributor into leader, and how the difference may be between being an effective manager, being a leader, how you can excel in both of those areas, and then probably around like the nuts and bolts of team design. How do we kind of create effective organizations of people that they complement each other and help kind of propel each other to do great things.
Do you have that's a great book, which I'm gonna add a quick question here.
You're gonna have to help me write a title for it.
I gotta I'm gonna start thinking about it now. We're gonna get it out. 2021. What is do you have a favorite hack about this, actually? Something that you do that perhaps you don't see anybody else doing and you think like, I don't know, I just like to do it this way or different than everybody does it? Around organization design specifically, and or building those teams.
I would say it's kind of funny because I realized recently that one of my direct reports actually coaches his team in how to have, this is embarrassing, but how to have an interaction with me. So he actually he goes through the motion of having like a, you know, when they're having mentoring sessions, he's like, okay, so just so you know, yeah, like when you talk to Erin, she's like not gonna, there's no, it's all business. You need to be ready to like state your opinion and to like, so I suppose it's, I do actually, not in a mean way, I don't think, but I push hard.
Yeah.
I am excited to hear all the different viewpoints, but don't come at me with a viewpoint that you're not ready to stand behind. Right. So, and that's where, I think that with a little bit of practice, the team comes kind of with a different mental framework on how they're problem solving and how they're presenting their solutions, or how they're presenting their point of view towards solving something. And I do think it is a little bit different, and I don't think I'm too hard on anybody, but I did find that entertaining to learn that that there's actually coaching going on internally on how to how to have an effective conversation.
You should have told me about this before our interview. I probably would have needed that coaching.
Oh no.
No, it's really good. All right. Last two things. Here we go. What is one thing that you would tell females, whether they're in tech now or coming into tech or thinking about going into tech, about your experience and, you know, how goes it?
I would say, do it. Jump in. We need you. We need all of you. If you don't think you're ready for it, you don't think, you're not sure if you could do it, you can do it, and you're going to be better than 90% of your peers. So come in, give it a try, engage. It's I think that ultimately I'm very confused at what has happened. If you look at women in the industry, I actually went to a women event, a women in tech event a number of years ago, and I got placed at this table. I didn't know any of the women there, but it was a group of women from Northern Trust, and they were all. It came out that they had all graduated in the same computer science class together. I don't want to say the year, but it was probably 2 decades before I graduated, right? And it was incredible. This group of women who had all and I was blown away. I'm like, okay, so tell me about your program. How many women were in it? And they were like, and so then I got curious and I was looking, and the numbers went like this. Mm-hmm. Oh, it died. And I think that in terms of my in my at least 2 year graduating, 2 years within the same graduating class, I think there was only one other American student. There was a woman in my class. So I'm not sure what happened, but don't let them scare you. Don't let the guy scare you. Come on in.
Come on.
We'll take care of each other.
Perfect. That is definitely true. And last but not least, this is my web series. I'm interviewing the only 40, hopefully more by the time I finish, female CTOs in Chicago. And the podcast is called Unbossed. Erin, what does it mean for you to be unbossed?
Unbossed. So I think the key to being unbossed is to set goals for yourself. Know where you want to be headed, and then find little ways to build the path there, and lean on your peers and lean on other people in the space to help you get there.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming. this is going to be airing soon, hopefully. And otherwise, I hope we chat soon. Thank you.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Marina.
Thank you. Bye.